Right, I'm going to start again because it wasn't recorded. You'll excuse me. Anyway, these things I don't even remember what I said. Anyway, tonight we're going to do products, things that have a very good hechsher for Pesach. If somebody wants to use them, there's no reason why you can't use them. As we said, when it comes to Pesach, everybody has their strictnesses. Everybody has their, can you call even mishigasin. And again, as long as it doesn't cause anger, it doesn't cause shalom bayis issues, it doesn't cause family issues, everybody's entitled to whatever they want. But I just want to say one thing. Again, people, you come to somebody, you say, oh, I keep Chabad custom. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat processed foods. I don't do this. I don't do that. That is a very wrong, incorrect statement. Why is it wrong and incorrect? Because the definition, and the Rebbe said this to many people. The Rebbe wrote it in answers, and the Rebbe said it to people. Chabad custom is what it says in Sefer HaMinhagim, okay, or in Hayom Yom, or in the Rebbe's letters, or from the Rabbeim, but not something that because people do it, you know, it's called a Chabad minig. There is no such Chabad minig of not eating dairy on Pesach. There is no such Chabad minig. In fact, everybody knows in the Rebbe's house there was milchiks on Pesach. What the Rebbe did himself, I don't know. It's not my business. But in the Rebbe's house, everybody knows there was dairy in Pesach. And believe it or not, the Rebbe was a very big Chabad person. You can't say you don't use processed foods in Pesach. You don't want to use it. Don't make it into a Chabad custom. It's not a Chabad custom. And by the way, from all the products we're going to be discussing, the biggest problem of chametz is on the matzah. The food that's most prone to become chametz, the biggest halachic questions could be on the matzah. Okay, if you buy wine, wine is processed. You buy dairy. Not saying you can't use, probably you should use or you shouldn't. All I'm saying is people cannot make things that are Chabad, to say they're Chabad customs when they're not. There are a few Chabad customs, okay, and we'll talk about them, that comes from the Rabbeim. And therefore, before we go into a list of products in alphabetical order, I just want to say a few things like this. Number one, when a woman gets married, halachically, she follows the husband's customs. Whether it's stricter or more lenient, halachically, if she wants to be stricter and the husband doesn't have a problem with it, it's not an issue. But for instance, an Ashkenazic woman who marries a Sephardi man is allowed to eat rice on Pesach because she follows the husband's customs. If a Sephardi woman marries an Ashkenazic man, she cannot eat rice on Pesach. So a lot of things depend on the officially what the husband's minhagim are. Generally speaking, when it comes to Pesach, you do what you did in your parents' home. That's usually the tradition. The problem with that is many Bali Chuvas, God bless them, the Bali Chuvas, if they would do what their parents did on Pesach, they'd be eating at McDonald's. So obviously you can't follow your parents' customs if they weren't from, if they weren't religious. So therefore, when somebody becomes from, a couple becomes from, and they need to decide what they want to keep in their home as far as Pesach goes, it's mandatory that they speak to a mashpia, they speak to a rav to find out what they should be, for them, what they should be using, what they shouldn't be using. Because just to hear, because somebody in somebody's house does A, B, C, D, there are reasons why those people did it. I'll give you an example. One reason why in Europe many people didn't eat dairy on Pesach, the reason for that is because, we'll discuss later, if you're using milk, the milk has to be milked from before Pesach. The milk has to be milked from before Pesach. That's the halacha. They didn't have any refrigeration in those days. Okay? So if they wanted milk and Pesach was already warm, there wasn't freezing outside, they can put it outside and it'd be in a refrigerator or freezer. So, how long would the milk last already? And the first 2 days of Yom Tif is basically you're eating meat. So how much dairy are you already eating on Pesach? So you don't have refrigeration. Secondly, another reason why people didn't eat dairy on Pesach, it was because they were barely able to afford one set of dishes, one set of cutlery for meat. They were broke. They had no money. They didn't have the disposable plates and dishes those days and cutlery. So they needed a set of dishes. So and meat was mandatory. Then Yom Tov Shabbos. So physically they weren't able to eat dairy. So from there became a custom that people didn't eat dairy. But somebody starting out that doesn't have those customs from the parents, halachically what they need to do is sit down with a mashpia and discuss it with their Rav, what they should be able to do together as a couple, in what the strictnesses are for Pesach, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. And the same thing, a lot of times parents have children and the children don't want to be as strict, living at home, but they don't want to be as strict as a parent. You have to call and find out what you could give in without any problem and what you shouldn't be giving in. But we shouldn't make decisions on our own just to make everybody crazy and go through craziness that affects the Shalom Bayis, and then people grow up hating Pesach and then they turn away completely, and it's not something that should be done. Okay, to give you for a few things that Chabad custom. Okay, if somebody runs out of vegetables, is it permissible to go out during Pesach and buy vegetables? Yes, you could buy vegetables during Pesach. You can buy fruits and vegetables, halachically. You can buy fruit and vegetables during Pesach. There's absolutely no reason why you can't. And even, okay, when we get to milk, we'll talk about those things later. Okay, now let's even just tell you what's brought down in Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch and from the Tzemach Tzedek and from the Rebbe Rashab and others like this. Now, the Rebbe writes, we don't use cloves on Pesach. It was a chash chametz in the olden times, okay? This year, there's no Matzoi Shabbos anyway, where you would need cloves for some anyway. Tzemach Tzedek writes, you don't eat radishes on Pesach. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek writes. Tzemach Tzedek also, there's a famous Rabbi Akiva, Eger, that says you don't, again, this is custom, this is not halacha. Many people have a custom that they don't, even kosher Pesach ones, obviously. They will not drink alcoholic beverages during Pesach except the wine, obviously. But they won't drink kosher Pesach liqueur, kosher Pesach vodka, kosher Pesach brandy, whatever. And there's a Vaad from the Mizrach Magid that says, why, it's more of a tzachas, as it's called. The Magid said, because matzah in the Zohar is called the food of healing, and everybody knows when you take medicine, you don't take alcohol. Obviously, it's a much deeper reason than what seems to be. But Lepel, this you could say is the Chabad customs. Chabad custom is we don't eat radishes. Chabad custom is we don't use cloves. We don't take alcoholic beverages. That's what we don't do, and that's brought down as Chabad minhagim. As far as peeling fruits and vegetables, now most people, I can't say it's officially a Chabad minhag. Again, if it doesn't say in the Rebbe's minhagim, it's not a Chabad minhag. Chabad people might do it, but it's not considered a Chabad custom. The custom is, generally speaking, to peel fruits and vegetables. And fruits and vegetables that you can't peel, many people won't eat during Pesach. But many people in halacha will cook before Pesach with the peels on. They'll wash it off well. But they will before Pesach, they will cook with the peels on the fruit. I'm not saying you should, I'm not saying you shouldn't. Halachically, you're allowed to do it. Because the reason why we peel the fruits and vegetables is there might be some chametz on it from the sprays, or somebody touched something with their hands. But when you cook before Pesach, the din is it's nullified 1 in 60. And if it's a liquid, it doesn't reawaken itself during Pesach. So again, if people want to cook before Pesach using fruits and vegetables that they're not peeling, halachically, there's no problem doing it. People do have a custom of having a separate egg pot for eggs because, again, they're in the peel. We don't know what happened. So this is an old Yiddish custom that you have a separate egg pot for Pesach. In that pot, you only cook eggs. You don't cook anything else. Concerning eggs and milk, again, this is before we go into the alphabetical order of products. Eggs and milk, it's a complicated halacha reason, but the bottom line is, if you want to buy eggs and milk, it has to be bought, wrong. It has to be, the milk has to be milked before Pesach, and the eggs had to be laid before Pesach. Now, if you buy Cholav Yisrael, which people anyway, even if you don't keep it a whole year, should keep Cholav Yisrael for Pesach, because there's additives in the milk, there's a lot of issues. So the best thing is for Pesach to make sure you only buy Cholav Yisrael milk. And eggs also have to be laid before Yom Tov. So therefore, when you buy from a kosher store, even if they get a milk delivery in middle of Chol HaMoed, it's still milked before Pesach. All the Cholav Yisrael milk is milked before Pesach. So even if the store gets a shipment of milk during Chol HaMoed, that milk was milked before Pesach and there's no problem eating it. The kosher stores, if you want to buy eggs, you run out of eggs and you want to buy eggs. So the main thing is to make sure that the eggs were laid before Pesach. In a regular supermarket, it's almost impossible to know. So what do? In the kosher markets, you know for sure the eggs were purchased before Pesach. So that's things that general aspects of Pesach that people should be aware of. And now we're going to go into an alphabetical order of products and Pesach. Now, again, I'm not saying you should use these products. I'm saying you could use these products. And sometimes if there's an issue, I will tell you some people do, some people don't. And should live happily ever after. Okay. Now, we're going to go alphabetical order. That means ABC. So if you have to know your alphabet a little bit. All air fresheners are good. Alcohol, if the isopropyl, meaning the rubbing alcohol, is good on Pesach for external use only. Not to drink it, but just external use. All the aluminum foil products, meaning all the disposable pans, all the aluminum foils, all these aluminum different types of things are all good for Pesach without a hechsher. Wherever you buy them, it's no problem. Okay, baby bottles. Baby bottles don't need a hechsher, but you need to buy a new baby bottle. You can't have the same bottle that you used during the year, the baby bottle, which was used for chametz, washed with chametz, everything. So if you have a baby with a baby bottle, you must get new bottles. Baby powder, as long, you have to look in the ingredients, as long as there's no oat flour in the ingredients, cornstarch is fine, not around food, but cornstarch is fine. Baby whites that don't have alcohol is good. Baking soda, not baking powder, baking soda, the Arm & Hammer, like any company could be used. Any Band-Aids could be used, any bleach could be used. Candles, regular, candles that you use do not need a hechsher. Charcoal briquette for those people that barbecue during Pesach. Any unflavored briquettes are good. Any cheesecloth is good. Cocoa, any domestically produced 100% pure cocoa. Like for instance, the Hershey's dark cocoa that people do with for baking, the Hershey's cocoa in the brown container is fine for Pesach, even without a hechsher, especially for Pesach. Okay, coffee. When it comes to coffee, the biggest problem on coffee really is the decaf coffees. Now, if a coffee has a hechsher for Pesach, obviously it's good. But for instance, Folgers coffees, regular and decaf, if they're unflavored. Flavored coffees are a big problem in Pesach, unless it has a hechsher. But for instance, Nescafe Taster's Choice is good. Trader Joe's, I mean, there's a list of 30. I'm not going to go through all the names over there. Okay. Contact lens solution is good. Crayola crayons are good, except not the Crayola dough, glitter dots, and easy peel crayon pencils. Those have chametz in it. But if a kid made a project with crayons, you can keep it in the house during Pesach. There's no problem with it. Dental floss, any unflavored. You can get the mint dental floss, but waxed or not waxed, it doesn't matter as long as they're not flavored. Okay, dental floss picks, again, any unflavored ones are usable for Pesach. Any stick deodorant is good for Pesach. We'll get to later some other names, but meanwhile, any stick deodorant is good. Yeah, here they have 1 second. Deodorants basically Aramis, Arid, Clinique, Donna Karen, Ladies Store, Ladies Be Menin. Those are all good for Pesach. Okay, next. Detergents. Okay. The regular detergent, basically any powder that has an OU during the year is not a problem. Clorox is good, Fantastic is good, Lysol is good, Pine Sol is good, Mr. Clean is good, Soft Scrub is good, Trader Joe's is good, Windex is good. Just make sure that doesn't say vinegar on the container. Dishwashing detergent, basically the OU ones, Aja, Cascade, Dawn, Ivy, Joy, Palmolive, 7th Generation, Trader Joe's, Up and Wegmans. Okay, I know I'm going quick, but I have to finish this. All the powdered laundry detergents for your wash, for the washing machine are good. The liquid ones, again, Arm & Hammer, Cheer, Draft, Dynamo, Era, Gain, Tide, and Extra, all good. Eggs have to be purchased before Pesach, like we said. Any eye drop, any of the eye drops are good for Pesach. Dried fruit, by the way, must have a hechsher for Pesach. Ideally for Pesach, you shouldn't buy the pre-cut fruit plates because you really don't know if during the year it really doesn't matter. But for Pesach, it's better not to buy, the platters of fruit from a store unless if the store is under a hechsher. Okay, gloves. The problem with gloves is inside there's a starch. So if you buy a glove and there's no starch inside, it's fine, or no powder inside. So how do you check if there's a powder? You take a glove, turn it inside out, and you rub it on a dark clothing, and you'll see right away if there's powder. If there's powder, you shouldn't use it. Elmer's glue, regular Elmer's glue is fine. Hand sanitizers, again, last in this year also, they're writing because of Corona, because of COVID, you could use hand sanitizers. I would suggest that don't use it when you're preparing food or when you're around food. Wash your hands from the hand sanitizer before you actually use it with food. Hydrogen peroxide is good. Ice, any bagged ice that you buy in the supermarket, whatever it is, 5 pounds or whatever it is. Any packaged ice is good for Pesach. Some rodent traps, by the way, have chametz in the bait, mamish chametz, and therefore you can't use that on Pesach. Juices, many people have a minute, they make their own juice. Many people have a minute, but technically, to give an example, real lemon juice. And it's a good thing somebody's asking me about cups. And this, I'll speak about cups in a minute. Okay, real lemon juice. I'm just saying it's good. I'm not saying you have to use it. Real lemon juice with the OU is good for Pesach. Real lemon lime juice is also good for Pesach. A lot of juices, especially when they're pasteurized, must have a hechsher for Pesach. So if you want to buy orange juice, it should have a hechsher for Pesach. Or as they say, the Tropicana, the okay is good for Pesach. But generally speaking, juices and things like that, you should try to get with a hechsher. Now, I was waiting for the cups to get to the paper goods. So I'm going to leave hot cups and all that for by paper goods. Now, I got a lot of questions this year already about meat. I bought meat in my butcher 3 months ago, and it's in my freezer, and can I use it for Pesach? The answer is no. Unless if the store will tell you they're kosher le Pesach a whole year. Because before Pesach, all the stores, the meat stores, or the meat department, will kosher their area before Pesach. They'll change it, they'll clean it, the different knives and everything. During the year, you don't know what's going on. Workers eat. You don't know what knives they're using. Could cut chametz and then cut the piece of fish. You know, for meat and poultry and fish, you should buy from a store that has special kosher lepesach fish. Those people that live in the outlying areas is one thing. People that live in a big city like LA, where you can go to a kosher market and buy fish, that's where you should buy fish for Pesach. Yeah, the Costco salmon, if you clean it and cut off a little bit where it's cut, you know, I'm not saying it's not good. If you're able to, you should try to get fish from a kosher market. And the same thing with meat. Milk, I said, you know, you should get the Chol Yisrael milk for Pesach. Any nail polish is good. Nail polish remover is good. Nuts is like this. If they're raw, whole or chopped, it doesn't matter. Almonds, pine nuts, walnuts, etc. If there's no preservatives, no additives, like BHT and BHA in corn oil are good for Pesach. If the label says it's processed in a plant that processes kidneys or chametz, then it must have a hechsher. Okay, so technically nuts, even though there was a minhag, always the people crack their own nuts. If you want to buy nuts with a hechsher, for sure there's not halachically not an issue with it. And all the kashrus news, the books are saying that raw nuts, even if they're shelled, out of the shell, and they don't have any preservatives, and they don't have any things like that, so they're really okay for Pesach. Okay. Oils. So either get oil with a hechsher for Pesach, or if you want to use olive oil, basically, again, the OU and the OK say that if it's extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin, only extra virgin, and it has a hechsher, oh, you're okay, it's good for Pesach also. Again, some people want to get oil with a hechsher. That's basically it. Some people want to say cottonseed oil might be kitnius, but the truth, according to Alter Rebbe, it's for sure not kitnius, and there's really no reason why you can't use cottonseed oil on Pesach if you want to. Or vegetable oil, if you look in the stores, vegetable oil for Pesach. You look in the ingredients, cottonseed oil. So they sell vegetable oil, and then they sell cottonseed oil. It's really the same thing. But if it has a good hechsher for Pesach, there's no problem with it. Orthodontic rubber bands, you have to rinse well before Pesach because there's a lot of times there's starch on it. All other oils besides olive oil that's extra virgin with a hechsher, you need to have with a hechsher for Pesach. Okay, let's get to the paper and plastic. Okay, so
Rabbi, do you mean you have to hechsher with OUP or just OU?
Only the extra virgin olive oil is good with the plain OU. All other oils must have a hechsher for Pesach, in addition to the regular hechsher. Okay. Let's go through paper goods, and there's a lot of discussion here with paper goods. So we mentioned before, all aluminum foil products are good. Paper bags, they write, should be only used for cold things because there is a starch, in the paper bag. Plastic is not a problem. Coffee filters are all good. Crockpot liners, the plastic crockpot liners are all good. Wax cups and wax paper should be only used for cold. Cups, plastic coated paper for cold use only. I was told today by a guy that's very big in kashrus that the Dixie hot cups are good. Besides the fact styrofoam is good also, but if somebody, he told me and he explained to me the process that the Dixie cups that are coated, the hot cups of Dixie are good, he told me, without any question. Anything which is plastic cutlery, plastic cutlery is good. Paper napkins are good. You'll find some books that are telling you it's not good, but everybody accepts that all the paper napkins are good. Paper towel rolls, all the paper towel rolls are good, except you should take off the first 3 sheets before you use it because there's a glue on it. Take off the first 3 sheets and throw it out. And the last sheet that's connected to the actual roll at the end of it, you should also throw out. But everything else is good. All plastic.
Can you use hot food on it, on the paper towel?
What?
Can you put hot food on the paper towel?
Halachically, there's nothing wrong putting hot food on a paper towel.
Any kind? Bounty, anywhere?
Any kind of
Regular.
paper towel, yes.
Really? Wow.
Okay, by the way, even the first 3 sheets of the paper towel, you can use to clean up a mess. You don't have to throw it out, but you can't, you shouldn't use it with food. The rest of it could be used with food. Plastic wraps are good. Plastic paste coated, paper plates, plain paper plates should not be used unless they have a hechsher for pizza because there's a starch in it. Styrofoam plates and cups, there's a kashrus issue which is questionable, but for Pesach there's no problem with styrofoam for Pesach. If you use styrofoam cups and plates a whole year, you can use them for Pesach. Tablecloths, all the pre-cut tablecloths, any rolls of tablecloths, pre-cut, all the paper ones are fine for Pesach. Okay, plastic, we said, shoe polish, any shoe polish, you could use. The question, can you polish your shoes on Chol Hamoed? That's a different question, but if you want to use it before Pesach, it's not a problem. Silver polish, Goddard, Haggerty, Wyman writes, they're all good for Pesach. Raisins must have a hechsher for Pesach. Right, there might be oil, but anyway, you have to, raisins should have a hechsher. Salt, the minute to get salt with a hechsher for Pesach. If it's not technically, if it's non-iodized and it's dextrose, the polysorbits and the ingredients is good. But the best thing is they sell it all over the place. You can get salt with a hechsher. There's no reason why somebody shouldn't. Okay, scouring pads and sponges, any of them that don't have soap in them. Soap pads that have soap in it need the hechsher for Pesach because you don't know what the soap is. But plain scouring pads that have no soap in it are all kosher for Pesach. Seltzers and things like that, really you should buy, excuse me, with a hechsher for Pesach. Okay, sugar, any pure cane sugar, like the CNH sugar, all of those are fine. Now let me explain something about sugar, because many people know that they have a custom. Is it a Chabad custom? Again, it's not a Chabad custom because it doesn't say it in Sefer Minhagim. If anything, it's mashma from the Rebbe the opposite. But anyways, like this. Sugar, halachically today, there's no problem with sugar. If it, pure granulated sugar that is CNH, like what we have in LA or Damin or whatever, any plain granulated sugar is good for Pesach. Some people have a minig that they cook the sugar before Pesach to make it liquid sugar. What is the reason for that? It's the same reason that we mentioned before with fruits and vegetables, that if you cook before Pesach, many people say that you could even cook it before, with the peels on before Pesach. What's the problem with sugar? The problem with sugar is there might be, because sugar was processed near wheat fields. So a lot of places that there were possibilities of finding grains of wheat in the sugar. Okay? There's a famous story with the Rebbe Rashab. He had a brother-in-law, Rabbi Hornstein, the brother-in-law that he married the Rebbe Rashab's sister. He had a sugar factory, and the Rebbeim Bechlal did not use sugar on Pesach. That's it. The Rebbeim, that's the Rebbe Shemaisa, and the Rebbe writes clearly, I don't know if this is for everybody. The Rebbeim didn't eat sugar on Pesach. So now the thing is like this. So the Rebbe Rashab's brother-in-law said to him, I promise you, I will make the sugar myself, and there won't be a problem with it. And the Rebbe Rashab said no. And he made him, kept on bugging him. Finally, the Rebbe Rashab said, bring me a bag of sugar. Bring me a bag of sugar. So the brother-in-law was excited. He brought the Rebbe a bag of sugar that he himself made. And the story is the Rebbe Rashab opened up the package and he showed his brother-in-law a wheat in the package, which is a Rebbe Shemaisa. It doesn't happen. It was a Rebbe Shemaisa. The Rebbe Rashab wanted to prove his point. So what's the problem? Maybe there's a drop of wheat. Don't forget, they didn't have the machinery like we have today. Okay, they didn't have the machinery like we have today. They didn't have the processing like we have today. So what happened? In case there's a piece of chametz in, God forbid, in the sugar somewhere. So there's a din like this. Before Pesach, this explains the fruits, the peeling with the fruits and vegetables also. The din is chametz on Pesach is not nullified at all. We mentioned this last week. 1 drop of chametz in 100-gallon soup, matzah ball soup, holy Pesach soup. It's not nullified, and the whole thing is straight. Before Pesach, that means if it became nullified before Pesach, it's nullified 1 in 60. But when Pesach comes, sometimes the nullification becomes unnullified. In halacha, it's called chayzer v'niyar, it reawakens itself. But that's only halachically by dry substances. By liquid, the din is that when it becomes nullified before Pesach, it remains nullified for the duration of Pesach. It remains nullified. Dry substances, if there was chametz that was nullified before Pesach, on Pesach it reawakens itself and it's not nullified anymore. So what's the purpose of cooking over sugar? When you cook sugar, you make it into a liquid. In addition to that, they also strain it through cheesecloth, which is a double precaution. First of all, now it's liquid and there's definitely nothing there. And even if there was, it's nullified. Plus we strain it through cheesecloth, so for sure there's nothing. Okay? So again, that's the reason why people will cook sugar before Pesach, because they want to make sure that there's nothing nullified. Halachically, is that something that needs to be done? 100% not. There are a lot of Chassidish that use regular sugar on Pesach. If somebody wants to be machmer, they should 100% be machmer. And if they want to unbe machmer, somebody had Chumash of Pesach and now they want to lax up in it, you have to do Hataras Nedarim. You have to be mataneded because you can't just change a minute. You have to be mataneded. So therefore, that's the story with children. Therefore, when you cook before with the peels before Pesach, even if after you washed it off, there was maybe something on the peel, it became nullified before Pesach in the cooking process, and therefore it remains nullified for the duration of Pesach, and there's no issue with it. Okay, but that's the reason why you hear people cook over sugar, is because they want to make sure that even, God forbid, which there isn't, even if there's something there, it becomes nullified. Tea bags, regular tea bags, basically without, not decaf, only the Lipton decaf are good if they're unflavored. But the regular tea bags, like Lipton and Chapman, Sweet Touch Knee, and those are all good as long as they're unflavored and not decaf. Now, obviously, you can buy today teas or every possible flavor that all have a hechsher for Pesach. So again, something that has a hechsher for Pesach, it's not an issue. It's 100% good. If you want to use it, there's no issue. Toothpicks, any unflavored toothpick is good. Okay. Vinegar, obviously. Vinegar could be alcohol, so you need a proper hechsher on vinegar. Concerning water, any bottled, filtered, distilled water does not require a hechsher for Pesach. If they're flavored or they have citrate or zinc lactate, that's a problem. Now, they also write, if you get, let's say, the 5-gallon bottles delivered to your home, those could be not a big halachic problem, but these bottles are recycled. They sterilize them and then they recycle them. So again, on Pesach, unless if you have your own brand new bottle that you bought, they're writing it's better not to use the 5-gallon containers of water because they're reused. But the regular bottles that you buy in the store is not a problem. Wax paper, cut right, just the major ones, Nature Value, Reynolds, ShopRite, Stop and Shop, whatever. Those are all wax papers which are good for Pesach. Okay, what I want to do now is go into some of the over-the-counter medications, which could be good, which are good for Pesach, by the way. Okay, for cold and allergy, Allegra D 12-hour tablets are good. Benadryl, children's allergy, the liquid, all flavors. The children's, okay, the Benadryl basically is good. Claritin, Claritin D, the 12-hour tablets, they might be milchig, but it doesn't matter, you're swallowing it. And 24-hour tablets, they're good. I just want to say one thing as an introduction to medicine. Medicine that doctor orders the person to, and this is very important, all the Kosher books talk about it, all the Rabbonim talk about it. Any medicine that the doctors tell you to take, whether it's for heart condition, thyroid condition, blood pressure medicine, whatever it is, you must take them, okay? Now, there's different types of medicine. There's pills that you swallow, there's liquid, there's chewable, and there's powder. Halachically, I'm talking now plain halacha. Any pill that you swallow, whether it's capsule or a pill, halachically, you're allowed to swallow it on Pesach. I would strongly suggest, that vitamins that people just take on a daily basis should not be taken for the duration of Pesach. First of all, Shabbos and Yom Tov, you're not supposed to take vitamins also unless it's a prescription. And there, even Pesach, it's better not to take vitamins unless if the doctor says to take it. If the doctor says you need the vitamins for your whatever, you could take it. If they're pills or capsules that you swallow. Liquid is a bigger shaila because liquid you're eating the normal way of eating. Chewable tablets, you're eating it the way normal way of eating is. And because you're eating in the normal way of eating it, so then halachically it has to be kosher. Now, if somebody has a condition and the only medicine they have is liquid, or they have a child that has a situation and the only medicine they have is liquid, so number one, a lot of the liquids are good. And if you find them on the list, good. And if they're not on the list, you have to ask a shaila, because based on what the condition is and how important it is to take that medication, that should be done. Okay. So people should never not take medication because of Pesach. Okay. Even children's formula that I Taka didn't mention because it wasn't on this particular list. Children's formula, most of them are basically kidneys. The kosher ones I'm talking about, even the soy ones. The only problem with the children's baby formulas is kidneys, which halachically a baby is allowed to take kidneys because the kidneys is the legumes. For anybody that's sick, you're allowed to take legumes. If you're Sephardic, it's a whole different story. Then Sephardim eat legumes on Pesach. And by the way, just because something says rice cereal for a Sephardi doesn't mean it's good. It can have chametz in it also. So, but when all the baby formulas basically are, unless they have the hechsher that says they're not, but all of them are kidneys, the child is allowed to take it on Pesach, but you have to keep it separate, which means you keep the bottle in a bag when it's in the refrigerator. You don't rinse the bottle out in your kitchen sink. You rinse it out in the bathroom sink. Anytime you give the baby formula, go wash your hands in the bathroom sink. But as far as the child taking it, there's no problem. Okay. Now for stomach issue remedies, Alka-Seltzer is good. Dramamine is good. Metamucil, not the wafers. Miralax is good. Pepto-Bismol liquid is good. Phillips milk of magnesia original liquid is good. Pain relievers, Advil tablets coated, not film coated. Advil caplets are good. Aleve is good. The blue pill. Bayer aspirin low dose is good. Motrin, the coated tablets is good. Motrin is good. Tylenol regular strength tablets. Tylenol children's suspensions are also good for Pesach. Okay. Now, as far as deodorants go, there's a lot of different companies in different books. 1 second, I just want to look up one more thing about the different lists have different. Okay, deodorants in this book are basically Arid, Lady Speed Stick, Men in Secret. In the other books, they have the Arid is good, the Axe is good, the Brute is good, the Gree is good, Dove is good, Old Spice is good, Secret, Suave, Sure, Tom's of Maine, they're all basically good. The aerosol, the creams, the gel, the roll-on, and the solid and the stick. As far as creams and ointments, A&D ointment is good, chapstick is good, but chapstick is better not to use on Pesach if you could avoid it because it goes into your mouth. Lecithin is good, Neosporin is good, Tenactin creams are good, Vaseline, petroleum jelly. Some of the intensive care Vaselines, you should check the ingredients because sometimes there's oat flour in them. You know, even though it's not edible for dogs, but still, if you can get ones that are not problematic, you should really get the ones that are not problematic. So again, when you use, besides the names we mentioned, if you have the hand creams, for your hands, you have to check the ingredients and make sure there's no oats or anything that could be problematic like that. Okay, mouthwash, Colgate, all the Colgates are good. Crest Scope is good, and Listerine is good. Shampoos, Head and Shoulders, Herbal Essence, Pantene, Perel, Suave, VO5. These are all the other books always write Head and Shoulders. I mentioned Head and Shoulders. Soaps, all the body soaps are good. Even the liquid, let's say your Irish Spring, Palmolive, and soft soap is good. Toothpastes, Aim, Close Up, Colgate, Pepsodent, Ultra Bright. Some people write other things, but it's best to stick to the names that I just mentioned for toothpastes. Okay, Tom's and Maine is good also for Pesach. Has an OU, it's good for Pesach. I'm trying to think what else we should go into with products. If anybody has any questions before I find other things to talk about products, you can ask it on the chat and I'll try to answer it. Okay, here's a much greater list. If somebody wants to unmute themselves and ask questions, it's fine also. Okay, we mentioned about the cups. By the way, Play-Doh is chametz. You can have it in your house at Pesach. Raid is good in insecticides. Insect repellent, a whole bunch of names here. Repel is good. Glue remover is good. Laundry aids, and just look at this different.
Is Tom's of Maine good for both mouthwash and toothpaste?
Yeah, they're good for both. Okay, well, if you have pets, there are lists of. I'm not going to go into the names of all the lists. In the Kashr's books for Pesach, many of them have a list of dog foods that are kosher Pesach, cat foods that are kosher Pesach, bird foods that are kosher Pesach. So either you can get the books, you can go online, by the way, and see it online. Everything you can get online today. But if not, you can call me, and I'll be able to look in the book and see what we can do to help you.
How about Sensodyne? Toothpaste.
With the toothpaste.
Sensodyne's okay?
In this book, it doesn't have it. 1 second. What name did you say about toothpaste?
Sensodyne.
You know what? Nine is not on this list, but it's funny because I think I did see it somewhere else. But anyway, I don't see it on this list, so I don't know. I looked at 2 lists. I don't see it.
Rabbi,
Yeah,
how about sunscreens?
sunscreen, copper tone, all of them are good. Olay is good. Neutrogenas are good. I don't know. Give me a name. I'll tell you.
It was Neutrogena,
Neutrogena is good.
all of them.
Yeah.
How about Trader Joe's?
What?
Trader Joe's brand.
I didn't hear you.
Trader Joe's
Trader Joe's brand of what?
sunscreen.
Sunscreen. I don't have it on the list. I don't know.
Okay.
How about Reach mouthwash?
Which one?
Reach, REACH, mouthwash.
One second. What was that spelling again?
REACH.
No, I don't have it.
What about Trader Joe's seltzer?
Seltzer is a problem. Seltzer, you need to have a hechsher for Pesach.
Rabbi, what
Because
about
you find the books that tell you the seltzer, but it's still really, you should have, for instance, in this book, the seltzer, he writes, any unflavored seltzer, and that's list any citrus ingredient may be used. All flavored seltzers obviously requires a hechsher for Pesach. But even the unflavored seltzers, we have to make sure there's nothing in it.
Rabbi Shusterman, can I ask you to repeat again which shampoo and conditioners are okay, please?
Shampoos, it's a whole bunch, it's a whole list here. Okay, in this list, Head and Shoulders, Herbal Essence, Pantene, Perel, Suave, Tresemme, and VO5. In another list, there's basically all the shampoos are good.
What about a smart mouthwash?
Mouthwashes, you need to have a proper hechsher on it, or they have to be on the list. Otherwise, they're not good.
Thank you.
Which,
I have a question. How about Colgate mouthwash?
Colgate mouthwash is good. I mentioned before, Colgate toothpaste and mouthwash are good. And I do want to mention something very important, that all these things that you're going to be using on Pesach must be brand new. You can't use the toothpaste and the toothbrush, by the way, that you use during the year. So Pesach, you need, even if you use Colgate, let's say a whole year, you have to get a new toothbrush for Pesach. You have to use a new container of toothpaste. All these things that you're using, even the soap detergents, like Ivory, Joy, those things, if they're around Chametz a whole year, you obviously need a new container. So all these things that you're using, I mean, let's say deodorant. I mean, technically deodorant that you use a whole year, you're not eating when you're putting on deodorant, I hope not. So then, you know, even then, it's always better for Pesach to get everything brand new. And then you don't have an issue.
which conditioner can I buy for Pesach? Conditioner?
It's together with the shampoos, basically.
Okay.
Which one did you want?
Like in Costco, they sell Dove conditioner. Is that okay?
Dove conditioners are good, I said.
Tom?
How about the
I
electric?
mean, if it's Dove, there's one which is not good. All except Rescue and Protect Serum and Conditioner of Dove is no good. All the other Doves are good.
How about the electric?
Electric toothbrush.
Question.
1 second. Electric toothbrush. Obviously, the brush itself, you need a new one. If you wash out the machine well, you know, that because sometimes it can go back down into the machine. If you clean it out well, then you, as long as you get a new brush, you know, then it's not a problem.
Supplement.
Can you use Tresemme shampoo and conditioner? Tresemme?
Yes, I said before, that's good.
What about
good.
Tom's?
And can you
What?
use the mousse too?
Mousse, yeah, for those you can use.
What
By
about
the way, there's an interesting thing, Tums. The one that used to give Daksha and Tums passed away. It's very interesting. In the Rabbi Blumenkrantz's book, he writes the Tums are good and they're good for Pesach. In the Baltimore book, in Rabbi Bess's book, they write that some of the Tums are mamish not kosher. And they're emphasizing that mamish not kosher. Let me tell you which ones, and it's very interesting. One second. One second. We got these books we have. Yeah, in their book, in right by Tom's. One second.
With magnesium.
One second. Let me just get. But he writes here by Tom's in Rabbi Bess's book. He writes the Tom's extra sorted berry not kosher. Tom's extra assorted fruit 70 count not kosher. Tom's the extra. Then he writes Tom's ultra peppermint 72 count not kosher. It's in Rabbi Blumenkranz's book. He writes it's good for Pesach. And at least Tom's you eat, and he writes it's good. And the other books said the Baltimore book and Rabbi Bess's book say they're not good. So I don't know what to make of it. Obviously, you shouldn't, if possible, you shouldn't use it. What does somebody else just say?
Parchment paper.
Parchment paper. Oh, yeah, I don't know. One second. Parchment paper, there's a bunch of names here.
It should have a P, right?
Well, here there's a whole 50 names maybe that have a hechsher and they write they're good for Pesach as it is, either OU or star K. This is what there's a whole, there's maybe 50 names that I can't read all the names. But another one, I want to say one more thing about quinoa. A lot of people use quinoa for Pesach. And I'll tell you the truth, there's an argument amongst contemporary Rabbonim if quinoa is kitnius. Many people say it is, many people say it's not. But even those people that say it's not, it's not kitnius and you can use it, they all write that you have to have quinoa with a hechsher for Pesach. Because it's produced in the same place where they process wheat and things like that. So as far as practically speaking, I would suggest like this. If you can do without quinoa for Pesach, you should definitely do without, because there are many poskim that want to say it's kitnius. If you must have it, it's your staple and you don't need and too many other things, then you can use quinoa and Pesach, but you need to make sure that it's with a hechsher.
Rabbi Shusterman, can you tell us which makeup we're allowed to use on Pesach, please?
Oh my God.
You know what? There's too many lists. You have to go online. It's just, the truth is, you have to go into all the lipstick and you know what? I can't go through all these lists. A lot of them are kosher lePesach. If they have alcohol in it, they're not kosher lePesach.
Things that go on your eye, like eyeshadow, mascara, eyeliner. Could it be any?
Those things are basically not edible for dogs. Those eyeliners, mascara, and all that, that's good for Pesach. When it comes to deodorants and perfumes, that might be a bigger shaila, and therefore you need to know which ones are good. And you know what?
So any eyeshadow, eye mascara, and eyeliner is okay. Any brand?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Rabbi, did you talk about ginger?
Ginger, the Rebbe writes we don't use ginger on Pesach, and yeah.
How about mushrooms?
Ginger? Why ginger?
Huh?
Mushrooms.
The Rebbe writes about
does cupcake paper need?
Exactly. We have 4 questions at the same time. Ginger we don't use on Pesach.
Why? Isn't
Some people, because there was a problem with chametz at one time. If you get the ginger with a proper hechsher for Pesach, it should be fine. Like we don't use cinnamon on Pesach, the Rebbe writes. Mushrooms, again, mushrooms you can't peel. Many people won't use them on Pesach. In Rabbi Blumenkranz's book,
You can peel.
okay, so some people do. In Rabbi Blumenkranz's book, he writes a whole Megillah every year. He comes out that you can't use mushrooms. Most people disagree with it, and they say that you could use mushrooms on Pesach if you peel the mushrooms. But he's of the opinion it's a bigger problem.
What about ensure drinks?
And sure, drinks of people that need it could use it. They do bring it down. It's kidneys. You keep it separate. You have to wash the bottles in the bathroom sink and make sure it doesn't hang around other food.
Thank
If it's
you.
in the refrigerator, it should be in a bag.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Rabbi, can you use fresh you cannot use even fresh ginger?
Our Rebbe writes in the Haggadah.
No.
1 second.
Mhm. Interesting. Rabbi Shusterman, can I ask a question, please?
Not yet.
Okay.
Things at the same time. I'm not talented.
Sorry.
Are you coming back?
I hope so.
Yeah, he's coming back.
The Rebbe writes about okay, the Rebbe writes about Rebbe writes in the God about Chareses. A second. The Rebbe writes in the Haggadah, he writes that for many years, Rebbe writes, for many years we didn't use not kida but kinman. Okay, so basically the Rebbe writes we don't use cinnamon and ginger.
But fresh, yes. Fresh ginger. No.
I just told you our custom is not to use it. I didn't say you can't use it. What about garlic? Okay, garlic is another issue by itself. It's getting late. I have to stop. Garlic is as follows. There's a famous Prima Godim that writes, it's questionable on garlic. He says the minhag was not to use it. He doesn't know why. Many Yidden have a minhag that they don't use garlic on Pesach. Other poskim write that there's no reason why you can't use garlic on Pesach. Okay, so there's no official Chabad minhag either way. Okay, because again, it's not brought down in the Rebbe's Agada, it's not brought down in the Minhagim, it's not. Some people use garlic, some people don't use garlic. If your minhag was not to use garlic, you should not use garlic. If your minhag is to use garlic, you can use garlic.
Fresh garlic, no, not powdered garlic, just fresh garlic.
I understand. I heard, but I just said a statement. There are reasons on Pesach why people don't use certain things. Okay, many people don't use fresh garlic on Pesach. That doesn't mean you can't use it. You could use it, but many people don't. Anyway.
Rabbi Shusterman, can you talk about the self-cleaning ovens for Pesach? Some are good, some are not good. What's the issue with the self-cleaning ovens?
Listen to the class of last week.
How can we listen to the class of last week again, please?
I don't know. I don't know.
Where is the recording if I want to listen to it again, please?
Where's Shoshana Chaya?
I'm right here, Rabbi. Everything is usually put on YouTube, on your channel on YouTube, but I looked for all the Pesach talks, and it seems to be that the only ones they've put on there are the ones you do during the day in the marquee, in the tent.
But there is supposed to be, they're recorded. Okay, I'll check into it, I'll find out.
Yeah, so I don't know where they've put them. The Parsha classes are all there, but these few Pesach classes are not there. They've put your other daytime Pesach.
Okay, I'll ask the guys tomorrow morning, the guy that usually puts it on, I'll ask him.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi.
Anyway, we'll see you on Monday this week. Don't forget the Shabbos of Shchedesh, 3 Sefer Teres, Parsha Shchedesh, Monday night Parsha, and then next Wednesday night we'll talk about the Seder, especially it's Friday night, there's different issues. So until then, everybody have a great week.
Thank you
very
very much,
Rabbi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So much.
Yeah, thank you.
Rabbi.